Hello people, congratulations on your purchase of your new X-Road e-bike. Today's video is going to assist on taking the bike apart out of the box and assembling it and getting ready for your fun ride and adventure. Cut the straps, and then you see that it's taped as well. In the next part, you're going to see that the bike needs to be pulled out of the box. You're going to need an assistant for pulling the bike out of the box. Mr. Seal. Take the seat out off of this side so it doesn't fall. The handlebars are going to be attached to the bike as well as the fender with cable ties. This right here is the toolbox, which we'll open up and we'll look at it in a minute. All right, we're going to lift the bike straight out. Set it down. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to cut the ties. The first one that we want to do here is going to be the front tire assembly. So get a set of wire cutters. Take off the 3 nylon ties. And that takes off the front tire assembly. Next, what we're going to do is take care of the protection in the front so we can put that tire in place. Again, just clip the nylon ties. Careful not to get into any of the bike parts. Okay. What you want to do next is put the keys off the bike, stick it into the front frame here for the battery, and then pull the battery off. The reason why I'm telling you this, the bike is a lot more manageable without this battery. What we're going to do is we're going to charge this battery while we're doing the assembly. Simply plug it into here, and then on the end is an indicator light. We're going to plug it into the outlet, and what you're going to see is a red glow. When it turns green, and I can do that for a second, that means you're fully charged. So and it's going to take approximately 4 hours to get to that point. All right, the first step we're going to do, we're going to use the included tools, and we're going to turn the stem facing forward so we can install the handlebars. So just loosen it counterclockwise and then turn it so it's perpendicular to the front forks. Now, turn it back tight. Here, what you need to do is remove these screws. You're going to bring the handlebar straight up and into the stem right there. Be careful with your cables, make sure that they're not twisted. Put the other clamp back on. And then put your 4 screws back in. We're going to leave it loose for now so that we can adjust it once we go to sit on it and fit ourselves on the bike. You'll notice that none of the ribbing that is used to grip is sticking out on either side, so it's perfectly centered within there. Next thing we do is we connect the bike's computer. You'll see a slot on this end and a ridge, and it just pushes together. Just line them up. There's two arrows pointing at each other to line them up on the outside of the cable. And that's now connected. All right, the next phase we're going to do is we're going to install the front wheel. We're going to unclamp the skewer. Okay, you're going to have somebody lift the bike up, and you're going to slide the tire in place. And what you want to do, and I usually keep the locking side of the skewer opposing the brake assembly. And you're going to stick it in. Oops. See? We're going to stick it in there. And we're going to put the nut, but we're not going to tighten it. We're just going to thread it on a couple times. And then you've got to carefully line up the brake disc into the brake caliper assembly. We'll get a picture of that straight down in where my finger is. So that slides right in there. Make sure, this is most important, you never hit these brakes until this is in place. If you hit the brakes, then the brake pads are going to push in and you will not be able to get the disc assembly back inside. So do not hit these brakes. All right, we got it lined up. Lower it down a little bit. A little more. Wiggle it in there. So it's there. There we go. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tighten it up. On the right hand side, I'm just turning the nut on the far side, and then you're going to put it to where this is tight and you push it closed, and that's going to clamp in. You want to make sure you have equal distance on the tire on each side of the shocks. And now that you have the brake assembly in, your front tire is done. That's all it takes. All right, so right now we're going to take off where the headlights assemble, because this is where we're going to mount the fender assembly. This is a locking nut, meaning it's got a nylon piece inside where it keeps the bolt tight within the assembly. So you're going to have to hold the nut on the back side with a wrench. I believe it's a 10 millimeter. I'm using just an adjustable wrench here. You will have to supply that tool yourself. Leave the screw in place, take the nut and the washer, lay it down, and then we're going to slide this tire assembly in. The fender assembly. And what you want to do is put the washer and the nut back on, just snug them. Don't over tighten them so you can do final adjustments in the end. Same thing like we did with the handlebars. On the bottom, the support for the fender, pull these down, and you have an Allen hex screw on each side. Unscrew them. And then what you're going to do is take and put the lower fender support assembly rod and bolt it right onto the bottom of this shock. Next, we're going to take the screw and washer, stick it through the support, and put the screw back into the lower front shock assembly. Again, just leave it loose for now until we get it all done, and then repeat on the other side. As you see, it's a very easy, quick job. The bike is mostly assembled and adjusted and ready to ride. Just got to do these few pieces to get it 100%. And make it so that it's flush and even with the sides of the tire. Make sure they're tight. All right. On the front, you adjust that with this front piece. What we're going to do here. Again, you just want it so it's snug so you can make the adjustments. That's just how that is. So we got the front fender lined up, and then we just tighten that up, make sure the light's perpendicular to the top of the shock.
That's good.
And now your front end is totally assembled. Brakes are 100%. The next thing we're going to go on to is the pedals. So what I like to do is add a little bit of grease. Oops. Each pedal is marked right and left. This is R right on the end. The threads go clockwise. If it doesn't go easy, do not force it. Forcing it will strip the threads. So it should seat all the way by hand with your fingers. If it doesn't, check to make sure you got the right pedal. Now, the important thing is this is counterclockwise. This is left-hand thread, left-hand side. Again, if it doesn't go easy, don't force it. Next piece we're going to go with is the seat. The seat assembly, make sure you undo the clamp, the pipe. It just simply slides down, and then you push it back to tighten it. There's many schools of thought on how people like their seat. It's a comfort thing. These have a nice, comfortable seat, not the kind that just are tight and hard. It also has a nice shock. So what we're going to do is set it up to about where you can. I like it on my toes like this. That way my pedal stroke, because I'm a bike pedaler, fits good. But a lot of people would rather have it flat-footed. So you put it on like this, so when they stop, they're flat-footed like this. That goes. Now, again, this is just like the clamps for the front. The way you tighten it, you loosen it this way, and then this is bringing the clamp in. But you need to make sure that this is really tight pulling in. This is loose the way it came. So I'm going to turn this nut on the back about a half a turn. Another quarter. Maybe a full turn. Yeah, that's much better. And then your seat's in there nice and tight. A lot of people will take a marker and put a line where they like it if they're sharing a bike. That way when they go back they know where to put it instead of having to try to refit it. So if you have two people riding, you can have two different marks showing you where you want the seat adjusted. So this is right here, perfect for me. Now the next thing we're going to do, now that we have that, is tighten up the fork assembly. So first you got to make sure it's straight. Look at it from both sides. And then we tighten this down, the stem that we had loosened earlier. Next, we got the brakes and how they're turned. So if you like it down a little bit like this, or you like them up like that, you'll notice that the handle grips have a pad that is good for the support of your palm to keep your hands from going numb. So I prefer mine right about there. Then tighten up the clamp. And like I said, do it diagonal and keep the spacing the same between the top and the bottom. Now, what I like to do is go through, you see that you got many sizes in this tool, and that is make sure that everything is tight throughout all of the screws on the bike. You've got two here on the stem, which generally are going to be a little bit loose because they have to be for when you tighten that. So you'll always make sure that you tighten these two. This right here shows that you can loosen this and you can set this at a different degree, closer to you or farther, depending on your size and arm reach. Make sure that's tight if you're not adjusting it. Otherwise, loosen it and retighten it. We've gone through everything on the front to double check to make sure that they were tight. And then now we're going to go for the rear bike rack. And make sure all of these are tight. Definitely the back of the rear wheel here, including the brake caliper mounting points. Now I'm finding everything tight, however, it's still good to check. And the other thing I recommend is after your first 25 miles, go back through and check everything that you did again, just to make sure nothing came loose or nothing was forgotten. All right. Now the other thing is when you're sitting on it, and you don't want to tighten this too tight because it's plastic, is your computer interface. Your computer interface should be at an angle that's easy to see. Sometimes I like keeping it a little bit loose because I notice when I'm riding, I like it up a little bit like that for the direct sunlight because it was coming through at an angle that it was making it hard to read, and all I had to do was move it up a little bit and then it was easy to read. Otherwise I keep it more down farther, and that's just like any bike computer for even regular bikes. Now we're going to go check the battery status, and the battery was fully charged, so we're going to install the battery. The battery just slips down into the frame. Turn the key. Pop it out. Again, you can check the battery status right there. It'll also show it on your driving computer, and it's fully charged. Turn on the bike, press and hold the center button here, for 3 seconds till you see the screen pop up. And there you go. It shows you you're ready to roll. Now, to adjust the speeds for the motor, there's a plus and a minus right here. And what it will do, it'll show 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 8, 9. So that's the amount of assist. Obviously, the higher the number, the faster the assist that you can go. This part right here is just a quick Shimano shifter, and it's just like any 8-speed shifter. You just go up and down through the cycles on that, and obviously the lower the gear, for the bigger the hill. Now, before your first ride, make sure you have 28 pounds of air in the tires, front and rear. Because they will go down when you're sitting. I got a gauge on mine. Now, because these are big, wide tires, they're going to hold a lot more air volume. So it's going to take a bit more to pump than you would a small, skinny tire. Ready to go? Put the kickstand up, and now we're ready to ride.